Hey, grade 5 and 6 students, Mr. McCauley here. I am not there, as you can tell. I want to talk to you about what you're going to do for science on the iPads. I'm going to start with the grade 6s. So grade 5s, hang in there, I'll get to you. So if you're in grade 5, I'm going to ask you to go and use Explain Everything today. And I'm going to ask you to start a project, and it's going to be about, in our science, we've been classifying different types of animals. So I'm going to have you key in on 5 different types of vertebrates. I think that's probably the most accessible topic, and I think it's something we probably know the most about. So what are some of the 5 topics? Anyone know one? Call it out. Right, reptiles. Another one. Right, birds. Another one, what about us? Of course, mammals. So I'm going to ask you to make a presentation and explain everything about the 5 different types of vertebrates. Vertebrates means animals with backbone. To do that, you're going to start with a plus, pick a background, it doesn't really matter which one. We're going to make a title page. For a title page, you'd start with some text, the 5, I should have some capitals in here, the 5 types of vertebrates, etc., etc. You can make the font bigger by zooming in here. Before you start typing, you need to do that, okay? Once the text is in there, you can also make it bigger or smaller, usually by using 2 fingers to make it bigger or smaller. There we are. And of course, on the opening slide, you might have some pictures of the different animals. Then I'm going to ask you to make one slide for each of the 5 different types of vertebrates. So you need a reptile slide. And on that slide, you want some text in bullet form that tell you what are the specific characteristics of a reptile. What are the specific characteristics? What sets them apart? You might want to talk about things like what do they eat? How do they reproduce? What do they look like? Where do they live? Hot-blooded, cold-blooded, any information that you can find. And then after that, I want you to show me some examples of that type. So one slide that talks about reptiles, one slide that gives some information about some examples of reptiles, and so on and so on. So altogether, you'll have a title slide. You'll have one slide for each of the 5 different kinds of vertebrates with some information. One slide with each of the different kinds of some examples. Maybe at the end, some examples of interesting animals that are really hard to define. That kind of, maybe they belong in 2 different categories. What interesting examples can you find of that? So I'm thinking that would be approximately, I don't know, 12, 13 slides altogether. Just so you know, you should regularly make sure that you save it. Again, you're going to save by clicking this down arrow, give it a good name. I'm going to say Mr. M and 5, I don't know, 5 classes, I'm going to call it, something like that. And I'm going to save it there. And then I go to the home button, it'll take me out. Now, one thing you should know is on this right side over here, I'm sorry, on the left side, we have all backup copies of your of different projects. So if you can't find your project, check on the left side in the darker gray rectangle. That could be some backup copies, and you can open up your copy here. One thing you might want to do, I find that when I have this open and I go back and forth to the internet to get pictures, sometimes when I come back, it kind of doesn't like it. It kind of says like, hey, you have something open. Do you want to keep it open? You should say yes. So what I'd like to do is maybe just save it before I go. Right? And then when I pop out, I know that my work has all been saved. And as I get the pictures and things I need and the information I need, I'll be able to go back and I won't have any trouble with lost work. So grade 6, that is the outline of your project. I think for today a good start would be to make the title page maybe, and maybe start the 5 slides with the 5 different headings. That information was in our science booklet, was on the science piece of paper we use, and of course it's all over the internet.